I am enjoying a wonderful Tuesday morning. The calm before the storm, of course, of our game today, the Snoop All-Stars with the Wounded Warriors. And that, of course, is taking place later this afternoon. Tickets still available. You can go to Eventbrite and get that. We got Snoop Dogg, Kurt Warner, Jim McMahon, some legends of the game coming out, and maybe some secrets that I can't tell you about. But it's going to be fun. Again, come out, enjoy us, support us, because we're here all week for Ability Media, the disability channel, just showing that people with any kind of ability, even as little ability as I have, can do stuff. But I want to bring in a friend of mine from his playing days, a guy that had a lot of ability as an offensive lineman. Randy Grimes joins me, the 13-year veteran who played for mostly, I guess, the Tampa. You were with Tampa for
right,
almost the entire time, and just a guy that dug in the trenches, was there in the good and the bad, and you've now been on Radio Row for your 13th year.
Yeah, that's 10 years with the Bucks. This is my 13th year on Radio Row, right?
And let me show you this, because he didn't have this last time we talked to him. So this is Randy's new book.
Released today.
It's called Off Center.
Forward by Coach Ditka, and I'm really proud of that.
And since he's in another room far, far away, I'll just hand that book over to you right there, so you can put the plug up in there. But
funny how that works.
Yeah. Hey, see, that's the magic special effects of TV. But Randy, thanks again for popping over a little bit. And I want to know if this book was therapeutic. Was it hard to write? Were there times you started to write and there was just too much to put out there?
All of those things.
Yeah, just take us through.
All of those things.
People don't know your ups and downs, the lows. You battled treatment abuse. You're a success story now. You work with pro athletes and recovery.org. You're also part of WSTreatment.com.
White Sands Treatment Center,
so
right?
These are places that we're trying to not only get NFL players and everybody, but just people who have addictions. And you've battled those demons. But let's talk about the book. It's an up and down struggle with a huge success story at the end.
Well, and I started off by saying, hey, I poured my whole heart into 234 pages of this book. And, it was a 3-year labor of love. And it was therapeutic for the Grimes family. It was a healing process for us, because everything that I'd put my family through, and my reputation and my finances, and it was good for everybody that we were able to do this as a family. Everybody had a part in it. Everybody had a platform. And, I'm grateful for the outcome of the book. It releases today. You can get it on Amazon. Coach Ditka wrote the foreword for it. And I'm most proud of that, because he's been such a great advocate for former players, and especially me and the work that I do at proathletesinrecovery.org and White Sands Treatment Center in Tampa. So, I'm grateful for that. And this book is about my journey out of darkness into the light. And, I talk about the addiction and how it started as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was that guy willing to do whatever I had to stay out on the field. So I looked at it more like a necessary evil than what it really was. And that was a full-blown addiction. And, when I didn't have that uniform to put on anymore, and that transitional trauma of after football, when I didn't have a playbook to look at and that itinerary to look at anymore, I really struggled with that for a long time. And that was like throwing gasoline on an already raging dumpster fire. That was that necessary evil that was really a full-blown addiction. So that's 20 plus years after my career, I struggled with this pain pill addiction, and the injuries kept getting worse. The tolerance to the medication kept getting higher. I needed more and more pills all the time. And it wasn't until September 22nd of 2009, I finally put my hand up and asked for help. And, my every bottom that I hit had a trap door in it, and, I would go lower, but the perfect storm was coming together in the spring and summer of 2009. My good friend Tom McHale, who I played with many years in Tampa, Florida, doing the same thing I was doing, treating career-ending injuries, self-medicating. One morning, he just didn't wake up. My daughter wouldn't let me come around my first grandchild, so, because I wasn't fit to be around him. And, all those things created that opportunity for me to put up my hand and ask for help.
Well, I'm so glad you're still here.
And you don't even know how many times I shouldn't have been here.
Is there one moment, not the epiphany, but like the lowest point where you're like, you weren't even Randy Grimes anymore?
Yeah, and I probably, I had just lost another house as a result of the addiction. I accidentally overdosed that night. I was in the hospital while my wife was at home cleaning out the house, and getting us ready to move to the next place that we were going to. And, you know, I can remember laying in that hospital bed at that hospital after all that, knowing that she was home doing that, that my children were having to move out of the house. And this is all stuff that I talk about in the book. You know, that's one of the lowest points.
So the positivity, though, what can they take away from the book? Is there, you know, is there a step program? Is there just, you know, do it this way, or does everybody have to find their own road as long as they realize they need help?
Well, I think the first thing is you got to put up your hand and ask for help, because there is help and hope out there. A lot of people suffer in silence for too long because of guilt, shame, pride, ego, whatever it is, you know, but they don't put their hand up and ask for help. And that's the main thing. You know, Pro Athletes in Recovery, the organization that I started, it serves as a bridge between, it began as a bridge between former players from all sports, not just football, but all sports, and treatment resources, because so many guys are out there and think that they're, you know, it's that warrior mentality we have. We think that we're out there suffering alone, when really we're not. There's a lot of people out there. This addiction happens to good people. And I want people to know that there's help and hope, and all you have to do is raise your hand. So you don't have to be an athlete to get in touch with me. Me and Lydia help everybody, but we do it through Pro Athletes in Recovery and White Sands Treatment Center.
And the book, again, is Off Center. It's out today, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I could try to match up half your face over there with the picture of that. And, of course, the forward is really impressive. My co-worker, Mike Ditka, back at ESPN. And how'd you get grumpy old Coach Ditka to write your forward?
Oh, he was more than willing, believe it or not. But he's just such an advocate for former players, and he's done so much for us guys. And, you know, I love him very much for everything that he's done.
All right, enough picking on about the past. Let's talk about the future. Big game this week. Last year we were at this point talking about your former franchise playing in the Super Bowl, and then Tom Brady leading them. Obviously, they're not here, and that's the end of the Brady area. But who are you liking in this game, and why?
Well, I'm an NFC guy, first of all, you know, so I'm always going to root for the NFC whenever I can. Plus, the Rams are the team that put the Bucs out of it, so I've got to go with the Rams. But golly, I'm just so impressed with not only their defensive line, but their offensive line. And I think it's going to be tough on the young quarterback if the Bengals offensive lineman can't hold those guys out of there.
And you've been a part of the Bucs organization for a long time. Did Brady's retirement shock you? Did you feel like, I mean, I kind of was like, he didn't get there. You'd think he'd want to get there one more time. I didn't know what clicked that just said, you know what? I'm going to walk out at the top of my game, throwing for 5,000 yards. I got to the AFC Championship, and my resume's done.
Yeah, you know, I can remember his wife coming up to him after the last Super Bowl in Tampa and asking him on the field. You know, the guy hadn't even taken his helmet off, his pads still on, and asking him, you know, what else do you have to prove? And, you know, I was really kind of shocked that he came back last year. But he did. He came back. He still's got plenty in the tank. The kids lead. You know, the great thing about what Brady brought to Tampa was he brought that winning culture. You know, he brought that champion culture, that you're never out of a game culture, you know, and that locker room mentality of being a professional football player. He brought all that with him. And I think that young Tampa Bay Buccaneer team needed that. So that's what he's going to leave. That's the legacy that he leaves. So his purpose has been served, even though he does have more left in the tank. You know, it's after 22 years, I think it's time to, you know, go lay on the beach somewhere for a while.
Speaking of what's left in the tank for you and your comeback, you know, how do you want to be known now away from the game? Obviously, you've put these battles behind you, and it's a success story. And this memoir is terrific for people to read. Again, you can find it on Amazon. It's just out today. Randy Grimes, Off Center, with that little RX there, so you know what this is all about. But you know, what's going to be your legacy? What do you think your tombstone is going to be now that you've battled back and you're back to who you used to be? Maybe even better than were you before.
Well, definitely. You know, I used to think that football was the most important thing in the world, but it wasn't until I got into this, and because this is really life and death. I mean, people are dying every day as a result of this disease. It's the #1 killer for people 18 to 45. And so this is real life stuff. And it's like God was preparing me all those years to do the work that I do now. I mean, the real life and death stuff. You know, I often wonder, why did this happen to me? You know, all I wanted to do was be the best football player I could be. I wanted to play every down. I wanted that next big contract. I wanted to be a Pro Bowler. I wanted to be the best center that ever played the game. it happened for a reason. And it, you know, I know now that God was preparing me all those years to do the work that I do now, to get in the door that maybe somebody else couldn't, to get somebody to raise their hand that maybe somebody else couldn't get to raise their hand. And that's what I want my legacy to be. That, first of all, that my greatest accomplishment was crawling in that treatment center September 22nd, 2009. And the second thing is that I helped as many people as I could.
So you've been there, you've done that, you're recovered. How do people deal with the temptations to either go, their wife leaves them or something bad happens in their family, and, you know, you've battled back to get to those points? You know, do you need somebody, a coach, an AA partner? Like what's the way to keep that success going?
Well, you know, for me, it's something every day. I know I call my sponsor every day. I talk to my sponsees every day. I do something every day. If I'm able to get to a meeting somewhere, no matter where I am, then I do something every day to maintain my sobriety, because that's the most important thing. Without that, I don't have anything. I don't have a family. I don't have a job, a career, a legacy, or anything. So I know that I'm just one bad thought away, and I've got to always be on guard against that. So I have to do something daily, and everybody else does, whether you've got 13 years or 33 years, you know, you've got to do something every day for your sobriety.
10-year former center Randy Grimes has joined us today, talking about his book, Off Center. You talk about family, and I'm going to leave you with this last question. How much does it mean being here now this year, after you and I were virtually the only people in Tampa last year, to see that family, your NFL brothers, the guys that are battled in the trenches, as you say, your opponents who are now battling the addictions, battling the pain, the knees, the hip surgeries? How much does it mean to you guys to kind of get back together? Because that was always the best part about playing football for me, and for you, the locker room, you know, that camaraderie, the friendships that you have, which I think some of that problem with those addictions is we don't have that after the game.
Exactly right. And you know, people ask me all the time, what do I miss most about the football? And it's not the game. You know, I don't miss being out on that field under those lights between the bleachers. I miss the locker room. And, you know, that's what recovery has given me back, is a locker room, the ability to be around like-minded people that have been to those deep, dark places that addiction takes you, you know. So that's my new locker room. And, you know, I love hanging out with these guys. You know, we've shed a lot of tears. We've lost a lot of blood. We've laughed a lot with these guys that are at this event this week. And, you know, I'm just grateful for my 10 years in the NFL, my experience, and all the people that I got to meet and play with.
Well, it's been great to watch you and to see the success, the second season and second twilight of your career. Again, the book, one more time, you run out and get it, buy it.
Amazon.
Wherever books are sold.
Order
there
it
aren't
on
many
Amazon.
More places, right? You just, and do they have that thing where they'll the drone that'll drop it in your house and, you know, drop it in your lap or whatever?
Well, that's coming, maybe.
Or
we'll see how the release goes, and then maybe they'll do that.
Or with the magic of TV, we can email you a fresh copy.
Look at that
over here.
Yeah, right.
See?
Look.
So there's Randy with his book. Again, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, visit their website, proathletesinrecovery.org or wstreatment.com.
White Sands.
And of course, you're also working with the NFL Player Care Foundation in Baton. Tell us a little bit about that before you get out of here.
Well, COVID's kind of slowed us down a little bit with the NFL protocols and different things. So, but you know, people are still getting help. They're still putting their hand up. I'm still getting the word out that they're not alone. They don't have to suffer in silence anymore. They got to get rid of that warrior mentality and ask for help. And everything's going really good. You know, I'm working with NBA, Major League Baseball. I'm working with the NHL, tennis, hockey, jockeys. Believe it or not, those jockeys, man, they get more beat up than we do. Former professional football players. So, you know, I'm excited about the work I'm able to do now. But I don't just work with athletes. Me and Lydia work with everybody at White Sands Treatment Center in Tampa.
All right. The great Randy Grimes. Proud tradition now, because the Buccaneers, they're a winning team.
Go Bucks. Tampa Bay.
Yeah. That's awesome. So thanks, Randy, for joining us. Again, that book is great, Off Center. Make sure you go out and look at it. Randy's going to be around all week on Radio Row, so he'll be popping up left and right, but he's a great guy. Thank you for joining us, Randy. Thank you guys for joining us here. Coming up in a couple of minutes, Chris Long, two-time Super Bowl champion, and my old friend joins us, and we'll talk a little bit about his podcast and what he's got going on with waterboys.org. So stick with us. Dave Stevens, Ability Media, live from Radio Row.